There are three crucial things every marriage needs to survive, and not just survive, but thrive. If you're missing just one of these key elements, disconnection, less sex, a lack of appreciation, and even divorce are almost guaranteed. The good news is, once you know what these three things are, it becomes straightforward to fix them, which leads to a marriage full of intimacy, desire, and respect. In today's podcast episode, I'm going to be breaking down what these three things are and how you can use them to reconnect with your partner. So if you want more sex, more appreciation, more respect, that spark back you had at the beginning, then you're gonna wanna do these three things right away. If you don't know who I am, my name's Tony Versick, and I've helped over 5,000 men fix their marriages, reconnect with their children, and find work-life balance. The first thing that every single marriage needs, what your wife needs, is safety. Safety is the identity as a modern day man of the protector. As men, we protect, we provide, we lead. And each of these will be broken down over the following steps. The identity of a protector, the identity or thing of safety, comes down to three core elements. There's mental safety, there's emotional safety, and there's also physical safety. By the way, everything I'm about to share with you is not just applicable to your partner, it's applicable to your children, it's applicable to your team in your business or career. It applies to every single area of your life. They're all connected. So the first type of safety is mental safety. This can be broken down further into two parts. Mental safety means, does your partner, does the person you have a relationship with feel safe to share their thoughts, to share their stories, to share what's going on for them internally with you? For example, if you come home late and you've worked a long day, this is what I used to do, grinding and providing in the business, come home late, my partner didn't feel safe to tell me she was upset, safe to tell me that she feels like I work too much, because when she did that, I would lose my shit and I would explode and get triggered. I would defend because I felt attacked. I wasn't in control of my emotions. I didn't know how to create a safe space for her to communicate with me. So she didn't feel safe to communicate her words, her stories, her beliefs with me, which meant they got bottled up. And in my first relationship before my current marriage with Rosie, that led to my partner bottling things up to the point where she decided one day to say, Tony, I don't love you anymore, and my marriage ended overnight. This is the story for so many modern day men. We sweep under the rug the communication with our partner. We react when they communicate how they're actually feeling, and we often make it feel, or we say to ourselves, they're nagging or they're annoying. How many times in your relationship does your partner point out something she doesn't like? How many times does that happen and you react and get triggered without realizing that that's really valuable feedback? Now, your partner might point out things she doesn't like in a nasty way. She might have a negative tone. She might even attack you, but it's often not intentional if your partner nags or attacks. She just doesn't know how to communicate with you. She doesn't feel safe enough to calmly and patiently explain to you the problems in your marriage. I want you to think about all the problems currently you have in your marriage. Are you not having enough sex? Are you not feeling appreciated? Are you not feeling respected? Do you sit on opposite ends of the couch scrolling on your phones? Do you feel like after a long day, you come home and she's already asking you to help with the kids or help around the house even though you're exhausted? Do you feel like those issues are talked about? Do you understand what she's thinking, how she thinks about you, how she perceives you as a man? Do you feel like she is confident and she feels safe that she can actually tell you what's going on for her in a calm and loving way? If the answer is no, it means your partner doesn't have mental safety. You do not have open lines of communication. Another part of mental safety is that you can share how you're thinking, what your day was like throughout the day. So this safety goes both ways. Now, what tends to happen is when our partner tells us that she's upset, when our partner tells us that she's triggered about something, we go into this form of judgment as men. When Rosie would tell me she was upset about me working too much, I would judge her and get defensive instead of going into acceptance and understanding. So the question here to ask yourself is, do you have problems in your relationship? And does your partner feel safe bringing those problems to you, communicating through her words calmly and patiently what's not working? It's the same in your business. Does your team feel comfortable bringing you their problems? Do your children feel comfortable bringing you their problems? If the answer is no, then there is not mental safety there. They don't feel safe sharing what they're thinking. And if they can't share it, it still exists for them. It just isn't brought to the table. There's no awareness around it. And this is how divorces happen, because we bottle it up, we create stories, this man has changed, he's not the man I fell in love with, maybe this isn't gonna work. If none of that is communicated, if there isn't mental safety, that will cause a divorce. Just really quickly before we continue, if you're getting value from this podcast episode, then please, if you're watching on YouTube, give it a thumbs up. If you're watching on podcast platforms, give it 5 stars. It helps us reach more men and keep more families together. This leads us to the second part of safety, which is emotional safety. Very similar to mental safety. Instead of sharing what she's thinking, does your partner, does your team, do your children, any relationship feel comfortable sharing with you what their emotions are? This is how we typically share emotions in our relationships. It's not through language. It's often non-verbal. We have a shitty tone, we're closed off to our partner, we don't know how to communicate our emotions, but our emotions show on our face. When we give our partner a judgmental look, when our partner gives us a judgmental look, when we say something like, "Ugh, not again," or "came home late again," if your partner doesn't feel safe and secure to share how she's feeling with you, or when she does share how she's feeling with you, it ends in an argument or a fight, you get triggered and angry, that means there isn't emotional safety in the relationship. It means she cannot come to you with how she's feeling, which means it cannot be resolved. On the flip side, as a man, we're not taught this stuff. We're taught to suppress our emotions and not talk about our problems. Do you feel safe to share with your partner how you're feeling? When I used to finish my workday, running a business, making money, providing for my family, I'd come home after a long day and my wife would say, "How was your day?" I'd be like, "Good." I was stressed as fuck. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." How often does your partner say she's fine? How often do you say you're fine when you're really not? Emotional safety means you can say to your partner, and this requires fucking work, man. "You know what, honestly, I feel stressed. I feel triggered. I had a really, really rough day. I had to let someone go today." Now you're able to share the mental thoughts with your partner. You're able to share the emotions. And on the same vein, you're able to ask your partner, "How was your day?" And she's able to calmly and patiently say, even though she's stressed and angry, "The kids were really rough today," or "I had a really challenging day. I feel very stressed. I feel upset. I feel triggered." Emotions are only a problem when they're expressed and exploded towards someone. If you suppress those emotions, if you suppress those thoughts, then there's not safety in the relationship. You cannot communicate. It will cause a relationship breakdown. It also causes a place where you don't feel safe to bring things to someone, so you hide things, you hide your emotions, you hide your thoughts, you don't communicate them, they're just buried deep down in that pit inside of you, inside of your partner, inside of your relationships. So the question then becomes, how do we have relationships where there is mental safety and emotional safety? Well, the answer is simple. It always comes back to awareness. Identify where in your marriage, where in your relationships are you not comfortable sharing your thoughts and feelings? Where in your relationships does your partner not feel safe sharing what she's thinking, sharing what she's feeling, and where in your relationship is there judgment? Love is the absence of judgment. A great relationship is being able to be triggered at each other, being able to disagree, you're angry at her, she's upset at you, and to be able to communicate that in a safe space. It doesn't mean you don't have arguments. It doesn't mean you don't disagree. It doesn't mean you don't get triggered at each other. You're fucking human beings with different beliefs, different stories. But creating a safe environment where once that trigger comes up, once the argument comes up, once the issue comes up, you come together and you create a safe space as a leader, as a man, to communicate this. Even if your wife's yelling at you or upset, you're able to breathe and calmly communicate. Ask her, "How are you feeling? Tell me more about what you're thinking. I appreciate the feedback." Even though it triggers you, even though you feel attacked, she is giving you feedback. But if every time she gives you feedback, even if she does it the wrong way, you feel attacked, you defend, you get triggered, you raise your voice, you drink, you sedate, then there's no safety there. Where can you go from judgment to acceptance and understanding in your relationship? How do you accept and understand? You ask questions. Tell me more about what you're thinking. I want to understand how you're feeling. Help me understand how you came to that conclusion. Help me understand what's going wrong in the relationship. Help me understand what I can do differently. Help me understand what I can do better. As a man, when you do this with your wife, with your team, with your children, they now see that you're trying to understand them. Here's a powerful quote that will change your life. Seek to understand before seeking to be understood. Seek to understand before seeking to be understood. If you can go from judgment, trigger, anger, frustration, to creating a safe space in your relationships of understanding and acceptance by asking powerful questions, by seeking to understand that person, then you can see their perspective and create safety emotionally and mentally. The final element of safety is physical safety. As a man, it is your job to protect the safety of her thoughts, protect the safety of her emotions, hold space for those things so you can understand them. And then as a leader, help them work through them. Whether it's your partner, your children, or your team, your job is to lead as a man. Is that fair? Absolutely not. But we can hope they're gonna change, or we can lead them, and that requires us to be physically strong. Physical strength is mental strength as a man. Being able to deal with your triggers, being able to have a rough day and mentally get through, being able to be emotionally strong, to feel anger, sadness, fear, uncertainty, hurt, and guilt, and to be able to be strong enough to have awareness of those emotions, to work through those emotions, and to communicate those emotions. It's not about being a robot as a man, it's about understanding yourself, understanding your negative thoughts, understanding your negative emotions, and being strong enough to work through them and communicate them. If you don't know how to do this, it is one of the most powerful tools as a man, and it will skyrocket your connection in your marriage, your results in business. It will make you a better leader. Next step is to be physically strong. As a man, your wife looks for security. In your relationship, have you put on weight since you got together? Since you had kids or started building your business or career or wealth, have you sacrificed your health? Do you have less time? Do you not work out? Do you not eat well? Have you got a gut? Can you not see your fucking dick anymore? As a man, your wife wants a physically strong man. She deserves a physically strong man. This idea of the dad bod is complete fucking bullshit. It is an excuse with this woke mind virus, this bullshit in the world where men can be women and women can be men. All this bullshit, not apologizing for saying that. A man should be strong. A man should be mentally strong, emotionally strong, and physically strong. You should be able to see your abs. You should be muscular. You should be fit and healthy. And when I became this man for my wife, I was mentally strong, dealing with the stress of work. I was emotionally strong, dealing with the fear, dealing with the uncertainty, dealing with the doubt. And I knew how to communicate that with her. She now felt safe and protected by me as a man to share her thoughts and emotions. And we went from arguing and disconnection and no intimacy and no sex and no understanding to both feeling loved, to both feeling appreciated, to both feeling supported, to both feeling understood and respected. That is what's possible for you when you create mental safety, emotional safety, and physical safety. And you do that by removing judgment, going into acceptance and understanding, and becoming physically strong as a man in your emotions, your thoughts, and your body, which is the weapon, the vehicle with which you ride through life. Now we lead to the second element. The first element was safety, which was broken down into multiple parts. The second element is even simpler, and that is the element of security. Your wife, your partner, your children, your team, the people around you, as a man, they want safety, but they also want security. Security is this idea of feeling secure. It's knowing that I will be provided for. You provide mental, emotional security. You provide financial security. You are a provider. Safety, protector, security, provider. It is our job as men to protect and provide. We are the creators of this for the people around us. Really quickly, if you're getting value from this podcast and you want help becoming this man who creates safety and security, you want to have a better marriage, fix your marriage, you want to reconnect with your children, be a better father, you want to find work-life balance and be successful building your business, your wealth, your career without sacrificing your health, your happiness, or your family, then that's exactly what we do here at The Empowered Man. We've helped 5,000 men like you. If you go to the first link in the description, you'll actually be able to book a coaching session with my Empowered Man team. It's completely free. And on that session, we'll build out your custom Empowered Man roadmap on how you can be the provider, the protector, have the marriage, health, wealth, and relationships you deserve. This identity of the provider of security can be broken down into 4 lower elements. The first one is financial security. Whether you like it or not, it is a man's job to provide. I've talked about this for years in my podcast. I believe the nuclear family is one of the best ways to operate in this world. And unfortunately, we're in a place where that's being broken down with the LGBTQIZZ, whatever. Now, I have nothing wrong with being gay. I have nothing wrong if we've got a team member who's gay. I don't give a fuck if you're trans, whatever. What I care about is when it's put in front of children and it breaks down the nuclear family. Now, can you have a family that's great and gay? Of course. I'm not saying that doesn't work before I get canceled for this shit. What I'm saying is, in my personal beliefs, you don't have to agree with it, the nuclear family works well. In my relationship with Rosie, We had a discussion before we had our child, we got our second one on the way, that she would look after the home. She would look after the house, cleaning, cooking, to support me. I would build the business and provide for our family. In doing that, we've built a business that does over $5 million a year. We've helped thousands of men. We've bought 7 properties. We're about to buy our 8th and 9th. I'm providing financial security for my wife. Now, whether you like it or not, in this sort of relationship, if I stop providing, if we lose our properties, if we can't pay our rent, if we cannot do fun things and enjoy life and go on date nights and spend money on food or Uber Eats, then my wife, whether she loves me or not, naturally is going to feel less secure about our finances. Now, that might not mean she leaves, but on the definition of love, she still loves me, but she won't feel secure. And men always go, well, that's not fair. As soon as you stop providing, the wife leaves. That's not how it works, but it does lower security. As a man, it is your job to provide security, to provide finances, to provide the life your family deserves. It doesn't mean buying handbags or heaps of objects. It means providing experiences. It is your job as a man to provide. Now, your wife can work, your wife can have another role. However, as a man, you're the leader. You pay for the dinners. You take her out on date nights. You get her things. You are the provider. That is what every man deserves to do for his wife. The second element of security is significant security. See, it's not just enough to make your wife feel safe, to bring to you her thoughts, her emotions without judgment. You have to provide significance. What every woman wants is to be told she's the most beautiful woman in the world. She wants to feel significant and important in your relationship. When I started dating my wife, I'm sure you've done the same thing. I'd get her flowers. I'd send her messages. I spent every minute with her. We used to go on date nights so often. And then guess what happens? As part of financial security and providing, you now have to make sacrifices. You start sacrificing your time, constantly busy in the business. You start sacrificing your health, trying to provide, working late nights, constantly stressed. And because your focus and energy and time goes into one element, wealth, your health and relationships suffer, which isn't a bad thing. If your relationship has less time and energy, that doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna break down. But we do have to have focused significance. We have to make our partner feel important. Rosie and I have a date night once a week. And because we have mental and emotional safety, I'm able to communicate, I'm gonna be working a lot more this week. I'm gonna be coming home late. How many men just assume our partner is gonna be okay with us coming home late or working more? We don't communicate these things. So the way you create significance security for your partner is you over communicate. You over communicate what the impact is gonna be on your relationship, on your children, on the time you spend together, based on the financial security. If I have more work in my business, I communicate that with Rosie. And I say to her, I'm so sorry, I haven't spent much time with you this week. I'll make it up to you this weekend. And then I follow through. I tell her, I know we haven't spent much time together. I know we've been distant. I know that I haven't been present. I know I haven't helped you one night this week. So this morning I go downstairs, I give her a hug, and I tell her, thank you for supporting me. Thank you for understanding. I see you, I hear you, I understand you. I know you want more of me. Now she feels significant. The last few weeks, I truly believe this. My wife is the most attractive woman in the world. I love her so much. I find her more beautiful every day. I tell her that. I don't just think about it. I tell her, how does it feel being the most beautiful woman in the world? And I'll do it in front of friends or family, and she'll blush and get shy. I'm making her feel significant by telling her she's important, by telling her she's beautiful, by telling her I'm grateful for her, by telling her that I know that I'm not giving her enough of me. I'm giving her significance because she deserves that. Where in your relationships with your partner, your children, your team, do you not communicate why they're significant, why they're important? That's how you create significant security in your relationship. The next element is tied to financial security and significance, and that's time security. There are 2 types of time you can dedicate to your relationships. You can dedicate quantity time or quality time. Quantity time is the amount of time you spend with someone. Now, if your job is to protect and provide, if your job is to bring financial security into the relationship, by definition, you're gonna spend less quantity time on your relationship. Now, this isn't a forever thing. You wanna build a business or career or a financial freedom portfolio so that you can take back your time. That's what I'm currently doing in my business, building a team, building an empire so I can take back time, but that's gonna require a sacrifice of time. So now there's less quantity time in my relationship. I might go from 5 hours a week with my wife to 2, which isn't a lot. That's where quality time comes in. If your partner doesn't have enough quantity time, you get to communicate that through significant security, Then you also get to make sure the time you do spend together is quality. When Rosie and I spend time together on date night, once a week for an hour and a half, 2 hours, I will look into her eyes. I will ask her, how's your week? How are you feeling? I will truly try and understand her, which also creates mental safety, emotional safety. It creates the identity of the protector. She feels safe and she also feels secure because I'm looking in her eyes, I'm focusing on her. How often in your relationship are you present, but you're not really present? You finish a long day, you come home, you're not really hearing her, you're not listening to her, you're not looking at her, you're not seeing her. In your relationships, you get to make people feel seen, you get to make them feel heard, you get to make them feel understood. And the quality of the time you spend, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, is so important. This morning, I went downstairs after meditating before this podcast, and I said to my daughter, she's 3 years old, I said, Talia, I need to tell you something. She said, what is it, Daddy? And I said, I love when you come into my room every morning and give me a big hug. It gives me purpose. It took me 20 seconds. She gave me another hug. That was quality. When I take Rosie out to date night tonight, it's gonna be quality. So what is the quantity of time you're creating in your relationship or relationships? And what is the quality of that time? Focused on that person. That creates time security. And the final part of security is tied very much to safety. You have mental and emotional safety, and you have mental and emotional security. This just means that your partner cannot just bring things to you and know that she is safe and secure to do so, and know that you're gonna consistently respond from a frame of power. What does that mean? If your partner feels safe to talk to you, share her emotions, she feels safe and protected in the relationship sometimes, but other times you react, you're triggered, you're stressed from work, then she doesn't have security because she doesn't have safety. She doesn't have certainty. She doesn't know which version of you she's gonna get. I want you to consider for a second the different versions of you. How often are you happy and positive? How often are you negative and sad? How often are you uncertain and fearful? How often are you certain and have conviction? How often do you come home stressed? How often do you come home with a smile and calm? There's different versions of you. And security, just like safety, emotionally and mentally, if you are not consistent with how you emotionally and mentally show up, then you don't create mental and emotional security. This all comes down to consistency with the man in the mirror, which is gonna lead us to our third and final element of what every marriage needs to not just survive, but to thrive. And that third element is certainty. You see, it's not just enough to create safety and security with your wife, with your team, with your children. They feel safe, they feel secure. You're a protector and a provider. The final identity is that of a leader. A leader creates certainty in his teams. I was terrible at this up until recently. I would have fear and doubt from the business. I'd have stress and pressure from all the bills and the expenses, and that would come out towards my partner. And some days I was happy, Tony. Some days I was sad. Some nights I was drinking to numb myself. Some days I was sober. And my partner didn't know which version of me she was gonna get. She didn't feel led. She didn't feel certain. Certainty is knowing that your partner has elevated. Certainty is when your wife sees you and she knows which version of you she's gonna get. She knows despite the challenges, despite how stressed you are, despite the negative emotions, despite the negative thoughts, which you will have as a modern day man, you're gonna show up anyway. She knows that she can rely on you. She knows that you're consistent. She knows that you have conviction. She believes you're this new man. You see, when you make these changes, you might have had issues in your relationship for years. That's a lot of evidence. That's a lot of perception of who she thinks you are. I guarantee your partner is not currently dating or living with or loving the man she fell in love with. Ask yourself a simple question. Have you changed? You can blame the business and stress and providing and protecting. I get it. Those are good reasons. But are you the man she fell in love with? But taking it a step further, are you even better? Have you elevated yourself as a man? Are you stronger, fitter, healthier, more in control of your emotions, more in control of your thoughts, calmer, more patient, more understanding? Are you a better leader? When you create certainty in your relationships, people will follow you. You don't have to ask them to follow. When you create certainty, your wife, she knows who you are. She knows you're the man. She appreciates you. She respects you. She looks up to you because she can see how challenging it is for you to protect and provide. And she can see, despite the challenges, that you're choosing to rise up and lead. You are a leader. a creator of certainty, conviction, and clarity for everyone around you. And when you become this man, guess what happens? Now your wife begins to grow. You have more sex, you have more connection. She feels more loved. She supports you more because you've led her on the journey. Rosie, when I used to judge her, when I used to create an element of unsafety, of a lack of security, a lack of certainty, she never grew. She didn't give me what I wanted. But now she's doing courses, she's developing, she's listening to podcasts, she's growing as a mother, she's growing as a wife. After 8 years of being together, we're more in love than ever. She's now growing, I'm growing because I'm that leader who creates certainty, and now we're growing together. Because you either grow together or you grow apart. And just like train tracks, if you grow apart and those train tracks diverge too much, the train will derail. So how can you become a better leader? A man who's more certain? Well, it begins with upgrading yourself, upgrading your body, upgrading your mind, upgrading your emotions, upgrading your time management, upgrading your business, upgrading your balance, upgrading yourself as a modern day man. And when you do that, it becomes easy to create safety and security as a protector and provider because you have certainty within yourself. We upgrade our phones, we upgrade our cars, we upgrade our businesses. How much time, money, and energy do you spend on upgrading yourself? When you do this, you become a better leader in your marriage, as a father, as a business owner, as a man. So let's tie this all together so you can take it home and fucking run with it. The 3 elements that a marriage must have to survive and thrive are safety, the identity of a protector, security, the identity of a provider, and certainty, the identity of a leader. Certainty is trust from your partner where she believes deep in her soul that you're the fucking man. If you can implement these 3 elements, then you will win and succeed. You'll make more money, you'll have more success, you'll have more balance, you'll have better relationships. You'll be the leader and role model your family deserves. Now, if you want help on how to implement this, there'll be a link down below where you can book a coaching session with my team. Because it's easier said than done, right? And we'll literally build out your custom Empowered Man roadmap on how you can have all of what I just shared. How to fix your marriage, reconnect with your children, and find work-life balance. How to have certainty and conviction. How to provide financially while also having freedom without sacrificing your family or your health. How to be that leader everyone deserves. So if you want to do that, if you want a custom roadmap, go down below. It's completely free. Book a coaching session with my team. And make sure, give this video a like or 5 stars wherever you're listening. I'll see you for the next episode.